Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my review of M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable. Yes, leading up to Glass, I'm going to be reviewing this film and Split. Joining me is also going to be Cody Leach, not in this video, but over on his channel. We decided to team up, do them at the same time, release them at the same time. So if you haven't already, once you've checked out this video, go over to Cody's channel and check out his review of Unbreakable. We will be doing the same for Split, as I say. This film follows a man called David Dunn, played by Bruce Willis, who survives a train crash. He's the only survivor, in fact. And when he's approached by a man called Elijah Price, played by Samuel L. Jackson, he's presented with a rather wacky theory that somewhere within society live genuine superheroes. Price believes that comic books are just a watered down version of, well, fact really, that has kind of been warped and changed and turned into fantasy, but that he believes Dunn is a real life genuine superhero. This is of course the first film in what is soon to be a trilogy. For anyone who doesn't know, yes, Split, second part of that trilogy. I love this film. It's got one of the best performances by Bruce Willis, who, let's face it, has been accused over recent years of kind of phoning it in, and you can see that a lot with the straight to DVD movies that he makes, a lot of them. But here you get the genuine sense that he's actually invested, that he wants to be here, that he's glad to be here. And yeah, I love what Shyamalan gets from him. It was the same with The Sixth Sense. It's a very dry performance, but in the right way. This character of Dunn, he has this quiet kind of inner strength about him. And even though his marriage is failing, so he's in this relationship, he's married, and it's kind of crumbling, it's falling apart, and he doesn't know why. He has a sense that there's something wrong, and he can't put his finger on it. And Robin Wright Penn, as she was called back then before her divorce from Sean Penn, she is great as the wife as well. She gets some really great scenes, and she's a pivotal character. This is the thing as well. Her character, I think, in a lot of other movies could seem like just you know, the wife character, but she's not. She is instrumental in helping David get to grips with his purpose, and we see through their relationship just how the more he discovers what his purpose is, the stronger his relationship becomes with her, and the more they're able to repair the damage that was done. So yeah, really good to see that dynamic between the two. Finally, we get to Samuel L. Jackson himself. Really great character. We all know Shyamalan's famous for his endings, but just putting that spin, just that turn where this guy becomes the villain. He set himself up as Dunn's arch nemesis. He's been looking for the superhero to go up against. The fact that he sees himself as the nemesis, as the villain, it's depressing in many ways. It's sad, but that's the only way this guy can find a sense of purpose himself, a sense of belonging, you know, a greater destiny, I suppose. So yeah, it just makes for a really interesting character, and because of Samuel L. Jackson's performance, yeah, I'm with this guy all the way. I sympathise with him because of his brokenness, both physically and mentally. But obviously, he's a loony in every sense of the word. He's killed many people to get to this point, so you can't condone anything he does, even if he is right. It isn't always very strong in the writing department, it must be said. A few scenes that I never noticed before on previous watches, but this time around I did, and it has been some time since I've seen this film, until this viewing. There's a couple of scenes that don't quite hit me the same way as they once did. Like, for example, the scene when Dunn he's basically he's trying to find out how many sick days he's had off, and he leaves a message for his boss, and his boss comes back and finds him, and he's like, okay, I get it, what do you want, you know, like I'll give you so much in a pay rise, you know, I get it. I just don't think a boss would do that, quite frankly. I think first thing he would come and ask him what you after, and then he would negotiate after that. But he comes, he splurges it all out, tells him he's going to give him a pay rise, and then walks off. That scene just feels a bit clunky from a dialogue perspective, from the way the mechanics of it work, from the characters. It took me out just for a moment. There's a couple more like that just dotted about in the film. Beyond that, everything else just really great, and it swells into a great conclusion, you know, as we follow this character through his awakening, becoming a superhero, and we see it through the eyes of his son as well. You know, the way his son's inspired by him and spurs him on, wants his father to carry on pressing into this newfound purpose. It's just a really great journey, and it's a quiet film for the most part, you know. It's very slow burn drama. A lot of the shots in this film, a lot of the scenes I should say in this film, are done in one shot, one take. You know, the camera will just be fixed in one position, it might just move a little to the side, it might just pan this way and that very slowly, but we don't cut. You know, if you look at a lot of modern cinema, I think of films by the likes of Paul W.S. Anderson, where he cuts about 25 times in the space of 10 seconds. It gives me brain ache. To see this from Shyamalan, it's really refreshing. This is when he was at the height of his powers, so to speak, and you can see why. Filming things in this really great way, it's very economical, I would imagine. I would imagine that if you can sort your shots out like that, get a whole scene in the can, so to speak, like that, then that would allow you to move along in the shooting schedule quite quickly. But beyond that, it's just, yeah, it brings you into the drama because you're not cutting here, there, and everywhere. You're not kind of paying attention to the mechanics of filmmaking. You're just in the moment, because the camera's fixed and you're in the moment, and the drama can just play out. As I say, it does build to a swell towards the end, so once Dunn has embraced who he is as a hero, he goes after someone. So he's able to touch them and see what they're doing. He gets flashes of what they've done, and he follows this guy who he's seen breaking into someone's house, and when he gets there he finds these people tied up and he knows he has to save them. And that whole sequence is just really great. It gets you on the edge of your seat, and Shyamalan has confessed himself that he's not particularly an action director, and I think we saw that with the likes of The Last Airbender, his biggest failure in my eyes. But this fight scene between Dunn and this guy, it feels very natural, it feels very real. Again, mostly done in one shot, and it's not loads of punches and kicks and karate moves and this, that and the other. It's literally just Dunn grabbing this guy and holding on tight just until he goes down, basically. You know, he's got him in a sleeper hold, and he's just holding on like a vice. And meanwhile, this guy's just throwing him into walls and everything, and he's not letting go. And it all plays out, like I say, in one shot. And I love that. Again, it brings you into that moment. You feel tense as it's happening. You know, I've seen this film before. I've seen it a few times before, and yet I still felt tense in that moment. There's so many really great sequences. Again, you know, they're not big explosion type sequences, they're quiet, intimate moments, but they're just as thrilling as any big action set piece you might get. So there's one particular sequence when David is lifting weights, and his son keeps piling more weights on, and at one point, you know, he gets chastised for it. You shouldn't do that, it's dangerous. Okay, I'll take them off, But instead of taking them off, he puts more on. It's a really great sequence, and you identify with David in that moment, in the sense that you wish you were him in that moment. So I guess in that respect, you identify more with the son. You know, you see it through the son's perspective. You know, you're inspired by David in the way that his son is inspired. ultimately, Unbreakable is a deconstruction of the comic book movie. Well, really the comic book. You know, Shyamalan was a big comic book fan, big reader of comic books as a child, and you can tell this is a bit of a passion project for him. And it does deconstruct the myths, the legends of comic books, the way that, you know, the villain is always the opposite to the hero, you know, the way that they share a particular weakness, you know, things like that. It's just the way it goes into it, it really was ahead of its time. If this film had been released like today, I think it would have been embraced in a much bigger way. I love Unbreakable, as you can tell. There's very little to fault other than a few little clunky bits of dialogue here and there. I love it. It's my second favourite Shyamalan film still, and I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. But what about you? Are you looking forward to Glass first and foremost? And have you seen this film? Yeah, if you're going to watch Glass, you definitely need to see this and Split. Yeah, I wouldn't go into that film without seeing these two. But yeah, what did you think about this if you have seen it? Please leave your thoughts below, let me know, and until next time, crack it.